Hey, welcome to my front room. It is time for functional conditioning yoga with me, Ricky Stewart. Hope you're all doing good. Let's get into what this is, how you look after yourself, and how to improve on what you're working with. So, this isn't a follow me class. It's not a class that you look at me and just do what I do. It's a class that you look inwards to yourself and try and understand what you're working with, where your ends are, and how to look after yourself the very best you possibly can to keep improving your ability to move around the world. So, let's just get into it. Let's just get started. So, perched on the edge of your sofa is a good place to start for me, and just sit up nice and tall and maybe shrug your shoulders up and then let them soften down slowly. And see where they land. Can you make your shoulders soft and relaxed and easy? Relax your jaw. Breathe all the way in. And push all of the air out. And then breathe less. Just breathe in a normal amount. Breathe out a normal amount. See if you can just really let shoulders soften and then pull the side of your rib cage down towards the side of your pelvis, keeping your hips square on the couch, squeezing down, and squeezing down. Now, if you just make this movement reasonably fast, so it's actually shifting. Ribcage pulls down, and just keep breathing and moving like this. Notice how you are faster than your breath, hopefully. So even though you're not doing big long breaths, you're not going breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, because we don't do that in real life. You breathe when you breathe, move when you move. And sure, if you go for a run and you set your pace, you'll find a rhythm. It'll be like step, step, breathe, breathe, step, step, breathe, breathe. And that's kind of fine while you're keeping your pace. If you play a game of football or squash, you cannot. You can't breathe and move in time. It's harder to do that actually. So that's why I'm trying to get you to train it in this side bend. There's lots and lots. We've done this for quite a while now. And think about how the same muscles are performing when you rotate. So if you squeeze ribcage around, breathing nicely. Cool. So let's do a really big start on spine stuff first. So I normally, in my in-person yoga classes, I'll nearly always start with cat-cow, but in my normal yoga classes we don't have the privilege of having a sofa, and I think this is a really great tool to teach your spine how to move well. So I'm perched right on the very edge. I want you to round your upper back. So if you have your hands on top of your shoulders, you're trying to pull your elbows into your hip crease, and then try and lift your elbows away from your hip crease. And it's nothing to do with your arms, it's more to do with your spine. So you're doing cat pose, cow pose, cat pose, cow pose. And get into how to make all of these shapes with your spine and your back. So if you look at this sideways on, this is equally as good as perched on the edge of the sofa for me. Can make connection to these end ranges and hopefully improve on the ability to get this nice C-shape spine here, like this. Could be seen as a slouch. Slouching isn't as bad as it's made out to be. It's only bad if you spend your whole day slouched. And then into extension, big proud chest. Not as good as it's made out to be. Probably terrible if you walked around with your rib cage up like this all day. Just comes down to your options, okay? And then I want you to try and keep extension and lean forwards as far as you can without losing extension, and push yourself back. yourself back. Feel this, like really tune in and feel what it feels like to close up and pick yourself back up. Close this space, pick yourself back up. And then lean forwards and try and round. And pick yourself back up and all the way back up. Lean forwards and round and back up and pick yourself back up. Let's just go for one more. Amazing. Okay, so now that we've done all of that stuff, I want you to think about how that relates to your hamstrings. So the position of your pelvis, so if you can round your lower back, shortens the hamstrings. See how I've got him slouched, my tailbone is like scooped under. Puts my hamstring into a shortened position. And then as I do the opposite, go into extension, lengthen my hamstring. Tucks under, lengthens, tucks under, and then lengthens. Okay. And then, as we stand up, let's have a think about that for our standing hamstring stretch. So I want you to feel the end of your hamstrings. Split stance, back leg bends, front leg stays straight, and you arch your lower back, so extension here, and then hinge forwards until you can feel like this stretch in the hamstring, and then just move your hips side to side, and pick yourself back up. A little bend in this back knee, coming down, pick yourself back up. A little bend in this back knee, hinge yourself down, pick yourself back up. The more you do this, hopefully, the more you can feel like you can make your hamstring lengthen and shorten to move you around. And that should feel like work. It should feel kind of difficult because the hamstring really lengthens and I can kind of pull on it more. The more I try and drop my belly button, the more it pulls on this hamstring, and then I can use that hamstring to kind of pull myself back up like I'm climbing back up using this. But what's tempting is to use your hands as the measure. So if someone says for you to touch your toes, then I just share my spine, look at my back, rounded. Quite easy for me to touch my toes. In fact, it's quite easy for me to get palms to the floor, but it's an expression of my spinal mobility and not so much an expression of this hamstring. So I want you to pick up and know the difference, because it's not wrong to reach for the floor, not wrong at all. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it, I'm saying you should understand when your spine joins in. The point that you end your hamstring pulling, that the length of this kind of goes because of the attachment of the hamstring on the ischial tuberosity on your pelvis, and that is here for me. That is my end. Your end will be different, but I can just tease it further there. But anything extra is coming, any more space I take up is coming from my spine, and that's allowed, and I can maybe teach the spine that it can go longer as well. I could even grab hold of the back of my leg, pull myself down into this, but I'm only really influencing the structures of my lower back, middle back here to get lower. That's it. And then I want you to bend this front knee and drop down with fingertips either side of the front foot, and then see if you can find your hamstring stretch as you push this front leg back up to straight, and then drop back down, and then push yourself back up and drop yourself back down. Do a few more, feeling that hamstring stretch. Cool. And then hold it for a second and pick yourself up nice and slow. So that was quite a lot of work on this one leg. So let's see what happens when we swap legs. So split stance, little bend in the back leg, look for your hamstring stretch, pick yourself back up. You're allowed to have a little bend in this front knee if that's helpful. Just move nice and slow. That's it. And I'm doing this to feel learning, to feel like I understand. So use your hands for feedback on stuff. So if you grab hold of your bum cheek and then travel down just a bit, so maybe you've got your little finger still on your bum cheek, middle finger right in that crease of your bum cheek. As I stretch, I can feel that stuff lengthen, and then I can feel it shorten and pull me back up like a pulley. I'm quite keen on teaching this ability to hip hinge. Cool. And then let's see if you can just find the end and feel the point that your spine joins in. And it might be difficult. If it is difficult, this is the right stuff. This is the things you should be doing to work out what you're working with. And then round your back, bring your hands down and hang out in stretch. Maybe wave hips side to side a little bit, and then bend down, so you drop right down, lose the stretch because your knee's bent now, and then we're going to try and pick this up to re-find hamstring stretch. Drop it back down, pick yourself back up. It's quite hard, it should be. Nice, and then just hold it. Maybe move hips side to side a bit. Pick yourself up. So let's think about the structures that we've just been influencing there. Back of your leg. Attaches on the ischial tuberosity and comes down and attaches kind of behind your knee and pulls on this to bend the knee, but also pulls to be able to get a bit of hip extension as well. So whatever way your knee points changes things. So your knee pointing across is internal hip rotation, knee turned out is external hip rotation. We also have hip abduction, hip adduction. So bring your leg out and in. Let's see the other side, turning in, turning out. And it's also this lottery of all of these variations. Every millimetre is its own space and has its own skills, and it's like a Venn diagram. They all cross over into the next bit, and then you have hip abduction, hip adduction, on hip flexion and extension as well. But you can train for all of these things. So let's have a little look at doing wide leg forward fold, but I want you to use your sofa or your little footstool or whatever you've got to work on. So wide feet, as wide as you can, and just hinge forwards and then pick yourself back up. And your knees are trying not to collapse inwards. So your knees try and get away from each other and find hamstring stretch, then push yourself back out. So we're doing a fair bit of hamstring work today, but I want you to just articulate first. So move them first, feel the lengthening, and then you can pull yourself back using that stuff. If you are dropping your chest down and your hands reach for the floor, that isn't quite it. Looking for this nice neat hinge. Bring belly button forwards and down, knees away from each other, and keep stretching hamstrings. Try and maybe straighten your legs a little bit as well. Keep coming. That's it. Big deep breaths here. Keep pulling yourself down. This belly is coming forwards. Keep trying to pull knees away from each other. And then slowly, slowly pick yourself up. Let's get into hip extension. Since we've just done so much work at stretching hamstrings, let's have a look at getting your leg behind you. So using your sofa again, let's make some rules here. So if you put your toe right at the back and then drop your knee down and try and bring your hip forwards and maybe grab hold of the front of the sofa, but if you lean forwards, you'll lose all stretch. If you pick your torso up and back, so maybe use the back of your sofa, until you can get thigh stretch, and your knee will sink in. The more this knee sinks in, I feel like the more I lose it, so I'm going to push this back foot into the sofa and try and pull my hip forwards until I can get a little hip flexor stretch. And notice how I'm arching my back, I'm kind of leaning back a bit. That is the stuff. See if you can stick here. You tense the bum muscle on this back leg as well. Keep bending this front knee forwards. Cool. You tense the bum muscle on this back leg. You're trying to own hip extension, getting this leg back behind you. It's very exhausting. And then pick yourself up, balance on this leg, and just try and bring this leg back as far as you can. And point your toes, straighten out, and feel hamstring and glute. Yes, there we go. Then coming round and try it the other way. So, foot right at the back, bring this foot forwards and find a little bit of stretch down this thigh. Maybe push foot into the floor a bit. That's it. Cool. So looking for stretch on your thigh, stretching the hip flexor. Keep pulling this knee further forwards, maybe try a little bit of back bend. That's it. Bend this front knee some more. Cool. Just really trying to tease this stretch into the hip flexor. So when I go quiet for a second, it's me just kind of sending my brain internally. Can you turn on this glute as well? It's tensing the bum muscle, pushing my laces into the sofa. That's it. And then pick yourself up and try and own hip extension. Just try and find hamstring and glute pulling this leg behind you. So good. Okay. Let's go through some shoulder stuff. So, the higher you are, the easier this is. On the floor is really difficult. Medium height, like at this kind of stool kind of height, is medium, and high as this, like almost hip height for me, is going to be the easiest. So you pick the angle that works for you. I'm going to go medium just so you can see. And I want you to go on your knees with your fingers and thumbs touching like this, and press into whatever it is you're on. So the higher up you go, the easier it is. You could even do it against a wall, which is even easier again. And I want you to try and pull your hands apart. They're going to be glued where they are, and you'll feel these muscles down the outside of your shoulder grip on. And then squeeze shoulder blades together and push apart. Squeeze shoulder blades together and push apart. And keep trying to pull those hands apart. It's difficult to do. Try and keep your elbows straight. Drop and push. I'm going to do the harder version because that's quite easy. Come on, I've got right in the way. And I'm after all of the movement of the shoulder blades. Nice. And then let's see if we can get a little bit of tricep work in this as well. So still in the same shape, pulling your hands apart, drop your elbows down, and push elbows up, elbows down, elbows up. Keep pushing fingertips down as well. And last one. Perfect. Okay. And then we started with a lot of spine work. I want to get into some abdominal work as well. So perch on the end of your sofa or on your little stool or whatever you've got. I want you to lean back, your feet forwards, until you feel the muscles in your belly catch you, and then it's just finding the shape that this stuff here is holding you up. It can be really easy. The further upright you go, the easier it is. The further back you go, the harder it is. Find somewhere that you can just catch that tension. Do a little crunch, do a little extension, do a little crunch, do a little extension. That's it. Keep moving nice and slow. And last couple. Then think about this stuff as you try and keep extension, but using the muscles in your belly. So you're leaning back and holding a little bit of extension. You can kind of feel around your body and feel what is working at holding you up. Then pick yourself back up. Amazing. All right, let's go into some groin stuff. So, seated on the floor with the soles of your feet together, I find that if I pitch my bum up a little bit, so I'm going to put a cushion under my bum. It's only a little bit because obviously the cushion kind of flattens down, and then soles of the feet together. And pushing knees down just enough to elicit a stretch. Just enough. Not that much, just enough. And then see if you can push back, and then try and find that stretch again. And push back, find the stretch again. It's just a little bit of input into your stuff, seeing what you can work with. Cool, it's moving nice and slow. Breathing, doing a little pause at each end. Bring it back. Let's keep this going just a little bit longer. Breathe here. Cool. And bring yourself back up and seated. Bring palms together. Thumbs to forehead. And tuck your chin and roll forwards. Namaste. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's a pleasure as always. Please let me know what you've got going on, what you need help with, and I'll do my best to keep you in good shape and doing good stuff. All right, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you soon. Bye everyone. Bye.